Fine, you'll remind me at the end.
Earth shattering.
Earth shattering. It comes with a visual aid also. Anyway.
That Britain was leaving the Union? Is that the earth shattering?
I'm so happy about Brexit. I'm so happy about it. Because it indicates a little bit that Trump might win. Yeah. It's the same factors, same forces.
All right, gentlemen, without further ado, Kayadua, the aura of the menorah is connected to Torah. But then again, what's obviously connected to Torah is, the Aron, which has the Luchas and has a Sefer Torah on it, which is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Right? Obviously. So there's like two different things that are connected Torah. That's the Bechina of the Aron in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and there's the... You're way ahead of me. Way ahead of me. Right. And then, so there's the... Right. And, right. That's what we want to discuss. We want to discuss that duality. Aron versus menorah. Which Rav Tzvi already was machavin, that it has to do, something... It is parallel to a certain difference between Torah Shebechsav and Torah Sheba'al Peh in a manner they're going to deal with. All right. Interesting enough, the Gemara says in Brachas Daf Hey, V'etna chas luchos ha'even ha'Torah v'ha'mitzvah asher kasafti lo rasa. So luchos are luchos kipshutam. HaTorah is Torah Shebechsav. V'ha'mitzvah zu Mishnah, which the Rambam paraphrases that to mean Torah Sheba'al Peh in general in the very, very first line of his Hakdama. So Torah is Torah Shebechsav, mitzvah is Torah Sheba'al Peh. Right? Torah Shebechsav is called Torah per se, right? And mitzvah is mitzvah is Torah Sheba'al Peh. Right? So that Rambam goes even further when he paraphrases this Gemara, and he says, "V'nitztavinu la'asos es haTorah al pi mitzvah." We were commanded to do the Torah al pi the mitzvah. I understand he's still working with the terms from the metaphor, but seemingly a nonsensical statement, right? That the Torah should be determined by the mitzvah, right? It's just saying, you have to go with the Torah Sheba'al Peh. The Torah should be determined by the mitzvah. Right? Mitzvah is a tzivui that came from the Torah. The Torah is the legislative body. The mitzvah is the command that came, right, from the Torah. And what I'm saying, you have to do the Torah al pi the mitzvah. Right? So they're saying the legislature should be al pi the commands, that were issued. The Torah sends out mitzvahs to us. We have to make the Torah al pi the mitzvah. So needs a little bit of explaining. But this lemaaseh, what the Rambam is alluding to over there, is something which is there's just one out of two things that are very hard for any thinking person to understand. There's the principle of lo bashamayim hi, right? God's in heaven, right, and he's kiviyachol in heaven, so to speak, right, b'derech mashal in heaven, and he told us what to do, right? And then when we interpret the Torah differently than him, right, and he's the boss, right, right? Like a famous story, that the Baskel came out and said, Malachem etzel lazar b'ni, halacha kamoso b'chol makom. Amar Rabbi Shua Raglav, lo bashamayim hi. Who's boss? Who is boss?
More in Shabbos. Shabbos, right?
No, it's Gemara Bava Metzia. That's Perak Hazor.
By Hill and Shammai.
Yes.
It's just a Basco and says halach is corrupt.
All right. That's excellent, Shiloh. That's excellent.
But it's not really a question, because over there the halach is corrupt. So
right. So then you asked the Tosas Kasha, and you answered Tosas Teretz. That's not, the Basco was backing up the halacha, all right? So therefore, it's just giving a chizuk to what the halacha would have been anyway, right? Correct.
There was a question, maybe, you don't go after Rabbim
Because they're machadid tzvei.
they're mechalek.
Right. So the Basco is backing up the Pashto Svara. But when it's against the Svara, we're not going to be right. Correct. That's all Tesis right there. Right. Correct.
And how does Loy Bashmai mean for what we said last week?
Thinking that.
Explain your question.
So last week we said how it's like sort of like a
It starts
spectrum.
as different Torahs like coming down and
Levels
finally
of
gets to the
Torah.
bottom.
Right. Oh, okay.
So it sounds like
So
we're
now
at the
what
bottom
we're going
of
to
the
say
totem
this
pole.
week.
Opposite.
No, we're not the opposite. We're going to add something to a very important message to what we said last week. Right. But this lo bashamayim, which is really what the Rambam is sort of alluding to, you have to make the Torah, refashion the Torah al pi the mitzvah. As if like you're reversing the cause and effect. Mitzvahs come from the Torah. The Torah gave you tzivuyim, but we make the Torah al pi the mitzvah. The Rambam is alluding to this, idea of lo bashamayim, and Torah Sheba'al Peh now is kovea also over Torah Shebechsav. All right, the Torah Shebechsav said ayin tachas ayin, and the Torah Sheba'al Peh said no way, it's money, right? And that's it. And you gotta deal with that. That Torah Sheba'al Peh says money. There's a statement Chazal that halacha okefes es hamikra. Sometimes the halacha, the Torah Sheba'al Peh, bypasses a puzzle. Those simple reading of a puzzle. It's amazing. And it's from the same category as the lo bashamayim issue. And how you get your head around it. Who's boss? I mean, we keep the Torah to do what God says. Now God says what He wants. So lo bashamayim. Now, but there's something which also is a slightly different question, but it's also one of these questions that it's almost impossible to wrap your head around them, and that's the concept of elu ve'elu divrei kimchayim. Look, if it's kosher, it's not treif, and if it's treif, it's not kosher. So let's try to even know how lolu poislim v'alo machshirim, right? Hello oisrin al matir elu ve'elu divrei kimchayim. How? Right? There's a tshuva of the Chavos Yor, I think it's Simon Kuf Tzadi Beis, and that tshuva is full of yush, all the things that we don't understand, and in the structure of Torah Sheba'al Peh, and he says like this, this Elu Ve'elu Divrei Kimchayim, this is what he writes. I could live with it if it would be strictly a legal battle. So, you want to legislate this way, I want to legislate this way. So you're a good lawyer, you're a good lawmaker, I'm a good lawmaker. If it would be just that, I'd be quiet. I could suffer it. But since we know al pi Kabbalah, right, that our mitzvahs are perfectly parallel to the structure of reality, and therefore, when you do a mitzvah, you're mosif tikunin, right? And you're mosif chayil and koach in the sitra the kedusha, and you're pushing down the sitra the achra. When you do aver, the other way around. You give koach the sitra achra, and you're being metame and being mechalo the sitra the kedusha. So he says, once you tell me that, I don't get it anymore, right? So the famous machlokas between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel about Soras Erva, right? The co-wife of an Erva, she chayiv yibum, she potter from yibum, right? So Beis Shammai makes it a mitzvah, right? That the Soras Erva is chayiv yibum, right? And if so, it's a big mitzvah, it's a big tikkun yibum, kayadua, and everything that's moisif, in the palmalia shomala. But according to Beis Hillel, it's a chiyuv kores. It's a chiyuv kores. No, so I'm going to ask you, right? How are the olamas wired up? Are they wired up that it's Soras Erva, positively affects reality or negatively affects reality? Once you talk to me this thing that mitzvahs aren't just an issue of law, that you have two great lawmakers that just
What is
right?
So the Torah itself tells you that we're giving authority to Chacham to interpret the Torah according to the rules that they have. So once they interpret it, it becomes the Torah. It becomes the Torah.
Right. So,
Well,
but his kasha is
No,
like
so it has
this.
to be objective
It's not
reality.
just
What
right.
is it?
That's his kasha. Right? The kasha
No,
he's
there is
asking. Well, he's
no
asking from the mekubalim.
The question is, how
Well, he's
you
asking
have
for the Mekubalim.
inconsistent rules. But there's no question that once they pass in a certain way, the Torah agrees with it. The Torah agrees. There's no original intention. There are multiple intentions. It's however Chachamim in their wisdom they interpret it according to the rules that were given to them. No?
All right, you're on the right track, but let's first
It needs more Hezbollah.
needs more hezbollah. But let's first build up the kasha. What he was going on with that bothers him because once you tell me that the olam is so wired up that mitzvahs affects them positively and avers affect them negatively, so I'm going to ask you. Listen, which way is the world wired up? Is it wired up that tzaras erva, marrying a tzaras erva is a mitzvah of yibam, and if the world is affected positively, or is it wired up that tzaras erva, the way we pass like Beisol, is potter from yibum, and therefore if you marry her, it's a chi of kares, because eshes ach shelo b'makom mitzvah. Right. Which way is the world wired up? Right. He asked this question like in a parentheses. It's like one of those.
Who asked this?
The Chavos Yor.
Oh, sure.
If it would just be a legal, just an issue of law, you're a great lawmaker, right? Two great, legal experts. But now you say it's reality. So if it's square, it's not circle. If it's circle, it's not square.
That they affect reality. The Chacham always affect reality. Don't they have the Gemara says about they possibly something about somebody in water and when they drowns and whatever they possibly.
Oh,
And the psak has it.
The Psak influences the physical world.
he who says that let oil burn makes this vinegar burn as well. What was that? That was
I think it's Rav Chanina.
Nina Mendoza.
Yeah, but that was more out of koach of emuna. But
Right.
but the answer, right?
Because Mom says, I gave you a mouth, I could make you talk.
Right. Which is that? We're talking about Torah Shabbal Peh, right? But that's the point that we're getting to is like there's a very interesting medrash in this week's parsha. Amongst the many midrashim that are fascinated by the fact that we have the mitzvah of lighting the menorah for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they're fascinated more by the menorah than the fact that we give korbanos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We do anything for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need those things just as much as he doesn't need light. Right? He doesn't need anything. Right? So it's amazing that we are meir lemisha, meir lekol olam kulo. Medrash goes nuts about that. No, it doesn't. The Medrash not bad about it, but you also give a carbon to a man who created all the animals, and a man who doesn't. Not a man. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't, who created everything and doesn't eat and has no needs. But for some reason, the Medrash is more nispal from the menorah more than any other avodah we do for God. We give light to He who created light. Amazing, right?
But these are more believable. He just wants your heart. He wants to show God love. The light. He doesn't need light. What are you giving him light for?
Purely physical.
He doesn't need it like he doesn't need anything else. But if orders like this, the part of what the Medrash is amazed about is that going back to this Inyan, because the light of the menorah represents Torah. We're giving Torah to God. God, the Torah is His orders, executive orders to us. We should just shut up and do as we're told. And now we're producers, and we're involved in this light. Right? And that's the Pella. Right? The Inyan of that we make Torah. Ever since Matan Torah, it's like who's boss here? Right? It's His Torah. Right? And like we said, the reality of the Torah is going to be the way the Chachamim understand. That's really the amazing thing, that we're giving light to He who created light. That's very paraphrasing. Say it in other words, we're giving Torah to the man who wrote Torah. Like he's the author of the book, and we're going to tell him what he meant. That's really the Inyan. So amongst the many Mishalim, so that's really what's moving Chazal, and they have many midrashim trying to, different how to understand. We give light to He who doesn't, who created light in the first place. So, and each medrash has a different mashal on it, and I guess there's a message in each and every one. I'm concerned when I would like to discuss one of the many. So one of the midrashim says as follows: Mashal ma'davar dome. You have a sighted man and a blind man walking down the street. The sighted man is leading the blind man. Right? And then they come into the house, where the blind man's familiar, knows where everything is because he lives there. So the sighted man now says to the blind man, I want you to light a candle for me. So he said, what? You're the one that takes care of me. You're the one who walks me in the streets and crosses me the road and tells me when the cars are coming. You don't need me. So even though it's my house, I know where everything is, but you could find the candle and the match a lot quicker than, right? So the sighted man says, nonetheless, shelo tachzikli tova. You shouldn't feel so indebted to me. You should feel like you're giving back. So also, says the Medrash, the sighted man is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shenemar Einei Hashem B'Shotos B'Chol Haaretz. God sees everything. All right, and the blind man is Klal Yisrael. All right, Shenemar, right, it brings Psukim in Navi that we're Megashesh K'ivrim Ba'afela. I guess, especially when they're bad. They're groping around the darkness, like, referring to their evil ways or their confused ways. As it brings Psukim about that. And the sighted man leads the blind man. That's Vashem Holech Lifneim Yomam Ba'amud Anan Balayla Ba'amud Esh. Of course, we're leading us in the desert with the Amud Anan and the Amud Esh. Right. But then we come home. Come home is the Mishkan. Right? And here HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, light the candle for me, the menorah.
This has a end on the mission.
Right. Right. Shelo Tachli Tova. Get home, light the candle for me. So the amazing thing over here, take a look at the amkus of this medrash, aside from the chitzonius of it, that HaKadosh wants to give us the opportunity to give back, which, by the way, that's a common thread in all the different mishalim that the medrash brings. But I want to show on this one that likened us to a blind person. A blind person lighting a candle. It's an amazing thing over here. That means that when we produce our Chidushei Torah, we are totally oblivious to what we're really doing. The blind man doesn't see the candle that he's lighting. He's producing that light. The sighted man appreciates what the blind man is doing more than the blind man. I know that I'm giving light. But really what he's doing is a lot bigger than what he could imagine. He's blind. He doesn't see what he's doing. Right? We have to understand, it's an amazing thing, right? Torah is a lot bigger than what we can see. The Torah is a lot bigger than our Havana in Torah. And even after you harvo sugya, you come up with a chiddush. That's like the blind. So as the Medrash is saying, it's like the blind man who lit a candle. He can't even appreciate what he really did. He has some understanding. That means that the whole process is a lot bigger than us. There's a lot more going on than what we realize. Right? And our perceptions of the Torah are just a mashahu of what's really going on. So now the Torah that's in the base Kodesh HaKodashim, the luchas that's in the Oron. So that's not man's space at all. It's called Kodesh HaKodashim because man can't go in there. Only once here Aaron goes in, and Chazal ask in a few places. So it says Al Yava B'chol Eis Al HaKodesh. No, never, right? So no, Aaron on Yom Kippur is not b'madregas Adam at all. It's b'madregas Malach Kayadua. So it means no man ever really goes in there because even the Kohen Gadol goes in Yom Kippur is not b'madregas Adam, right?
That's why he has to put a t'nai on divorce with his wife. The whole thing couldn't more in Yuma, the first Mishnah.
Right. So they make
Purim, the whole t'nai. If I come back,
those
I
are
don't come back.
No, that's why a lot of them drop dead over there. This is really
There's a string to pull him out.
all right.
Well, you have a second one. You have a second
Second wife, right?
just in case, in case his wife would
She
die because the
she
chipper ba'ado
Yes.
ba'beso.
You have to
Right.
make sure the person's going to die because everybody dies. Everybody in this world dies. So yeah, therefore, Shashi's there.
No, so we don't pass it away because
We don't pass him that way?
that he has a second wife.
No? No. He has to set it up. With the tonight, no?
No, but maybe,
No, we
maybe,
don't-
maybe he's a Yemenite. He has 3 wives.
Good, sir.
He's now allowed to have 2 wives. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, he's now allowed to have 2 wives. But so if you got that, the Gemara says that he can't have 2 wives at the
So, I,
same
mean,
time.
I don't know all the halachas, but he
No,
definitely.
I think the Gemara was worried about that.
Yes.
So one has to go, he has to do one that's right at the I forgot. The one has to do.
Nah, if she dies,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
becomes his wife.
Yeah.
Says okay. So I get to the point over here,
He goes to the Bali Olam.
right? Right.
Goes to the Bali Olam.
Oh.
No, this is goes to the because he's allowed to marry 2 wives. He's not allowed to have 2 at the same time.
Yeah. So it's just another. There's another one just in case. Right. Yes, but so in it's off limits to man. But not only that, if you would go there, you'd freak. You know, you can understand why you drop dead, because Chazal tell us, you would see an amazing thing. It wasn't physically possible for the Aron to fit into the Kodesh HaKadoshim unless you discount and say that the Aron itself didn't take up space. Ha'aron eino min hamida. Right? Right? You know, it wasn't within space. It wasn't within space. And of course, similar to that, Chazal tell us, Ha'aron no say es nosav. You think you're carrying the Aron carried the people who seemingly carry it. Showing like this, showing that, you know, the Torah in Shorsho is way above, you know, time and space, you know, and where the human mind reaches, right? You know, you don't carry the Aron carries you. There's nothing you could contribute to such a high level, right? Now this is the Inyan, Kishenichsu Yevonim Lahechal. The Yevonim, when they ransacked the Beis HaMikdash, so it's that the Loshen Torah Chazal, Nichnasu Lahechal. Why did they go to the Kodesh HaKadoshim? Now they stopped at the Hechal.
Maybe they tried.
It's an amazing thing. It was invisible to them. Invisible.
Didn't they Titus stab the
Parochas.
Baruchas from the other side?
Yeah. Say the bros, but Yevonim, they reached the Hechal. They didn't make it to the Kodesh
Is
HaKadoshim.
that because going to Kodesh HaKadoshim was a totally different dimension?
Something like that. It's like something invisible to them. And of course, the Pach Shemen, the Mrak Spana was Munach B'chosamo Shel Kohen Gadol, who does go Lifnai V'Lifnim. The Maharal says that the Pach Shemen that they missed had the power of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's the that had the Chosam of the Kohen Gadol who goes in Kodesh HaKadoshim. Right? So the Kodesh HaKadoshim refers to the Torah in its shirish. Right? Way above, you know, where the human mind reaches. Way above. Right? Way above what the man could get his head around. And it's outside of time and space. Right? So in the second bias, they didn't have the Aron, but they had the Even Shesia, Shemisham Hu Shasa Olam. The Even Shesia is where the whole world branched out from. That means that one place is above space, because that's where space came from. Right? So Mimela, like this Torah itself, that's from such a high place, above space, so there's no problem. You can't ask, well, if it's square, it's not a circle. If it's circle, it's not a square. Right? Because this thing is outside of space. It's bigger. Right? That's like, one side is in the Slavish in Mokom. So you had, well, is it here or is it there? Is it round or is it square? Ha'aron eino min amida. It's not in space. Right? So Torah, Torah could have in it multiple meanings, and they're all true. And for us, they might seem mutually exclusive because we're in space. So when these things branch down into space, so one's square, the other one's circle. If it's square, it's not circle, not square. One's here, one's there. If it's here, it's not there. If it's there, it's not here. Right? But that's mitzidenu. Right? But Torah is above space. So if something's not in midah, it could be square and circle at the same time. We can't get our heads around it because once it's this slavish in space, it's going to splinter into a Beis Shammai and a Beis Hillel. But the Torah itself is Eino Min Amida. Right? It's above space. So both possibilities are true. And really that's the real answer to the Chavas Yoyer's Kasha. Right? The reality that comes from the Torah is really bigger than our minds. This is our perception of reality. Reality is really bigger than what we get our head around. Right? So now we have, and this Marshiva Zechron Livracha used to say regarding the machloksin between the Zohar and the Gemara. So he used to say like this, the Tanoim of the Gemara, Tanoim and Amoraim, had their own Shita and Nister, how to explain. The Olamas based on their Shita and Nigla. We were only Zocha to the Zohar of Shirin Bar Yochai. So Shirin Bar Yochai is a day, is Tana V'Polig, right? All the Tanoim had a way of explaining their Shitas Alpi Nister, just we weren't Zocha to their Chiburim, Ben Yonei Nister, we were only Zocha to the Chibur of Shirin Bar Yochai, right? And he touched up everything Lefia Shita. There's a way to look at the Olamas from a whole different perspective. But the Ramchal writes this, the Olamas Betzim don't look like anything. So that's what we talk about in Ari, Igulim, Yosher. That's all by our perception, by our perspective. Reality is bigger than that. Because reality comes from the Torah. The Torah is also bigger than that. Right? And this could also explain that science has changed from generation to generation. Not only that, now it's changing from year to year. What a doctor said was healthy last year, right? This year's not. It's not changing now. It's going crazy.
Nutrition was never a science.
What?
Nutrition was never a science.
Medications.
No, I heard my doctor being, a few years later, because it's what they used to say. Now they're chayzer bahem, So it's a very interesting question. It's a very interesting question over here. So for we say what they used to do years with the benkis and the those sucking cups and those leeches, were they mamish killing their own kids? I'm asking. Which I would consider that crazy. That's not even being a witch.
We're probably killing our own kids. Right, giving all these toxic chemicals that go into your body that one day you'll have to medicate that on top of more medication.
If they give them what do they give the kids?
Bamba?
They're autistic.
Oh.
Mama.
They calm them down, they're wild kids. Yeah. What? Ritalin.
I'm only like 5 years ago.
Ritalin.
Yeah.
So Savage claims they just kill the kids with the Ritalin.
Yeah, turn them into liberals. That's right. Yeah.
So it's a liberal pill.
Yeah. Kids.
Anything that makes you dumb makes you a liberal.
Amen to that.
So it's a very serious question, right? They weren't stupid people, and some of these things were in practice for hundreds of years until they decided, it's all wrong. So here's a possibility. Who says it's wrong? Reality is a lot bigger than the mind, and this was how they made Seder out of reality. They superimposed this model, and it worked. Right, worked for them. So now we could argue, whether it worked for them because of the placebo effect, that if you believe something works, it mamish heals you, and it works the other way. If you believe something's unhealthy,
It was empirical. It was based on what they experienced. It worked. Apparently it worked. See, the Gemara has all these
Right.
medical solutions.
So now
Apparently it worked.
that
crazy.
so I'm not discounting the possibility that there was the placebo and there's the opposite, what they call the nocebo. It could be that just because they believed in it, that alone made it work. But it could be reality is just a lot bigger than the human mind, and it did work. But just now we have the perception of reality changed, and we just can't imagine that working. And Mimela so Mimela doesn't work because you don't believe in it. Right? But maybe it does. Reality is bigger. You know, the mind is just trying to make Seder out of what's going on around you, and maybe the Seder that's making is totally wrong. Or maybe it's right, but each different Seder is one snapshot of the truth. And the truth is all those different perspectives together. At least by Torah,
We paskin one way though.
we say El Vel Divrei Kim Chaim. We say,
But once we paskin, why doesn't that take away from, like, if the psak is, you know,
so that's the
Atar
halacha for that
Lahatas,
door. No,
After
so
that-
that's your main thing. So that's really what goes on. The halacha can change from door to door.
Ah.
You know, back in the days when there was a Beis Nagadol, later Beis Nagadol can overturn the ruling of an earlier Beis Nagadol, and paskin tzaras erva, like Beis Shammai, tzaras erva is chayiv and yibum.
But they're both possibilities, as we're saying.
What?
They're both possibilities that are true.
That's right. Reality is bigger than what you could imagine.
It's interesting that you say that because in the scientific world, once they decide on something that's better, they go around and say that the people that came before them don't know what the heck they're talking about.
I'm
And
saying
in Torah,
they
you say,
could be.
"Hey, learning Chaim," so they all have a different way of seeing it.
I heard an interview from a scientist who was arguing this exact argument, but he's a big scientist.
Yeah.
Astrophysicist, something. So he says Ptolemy wasn't wrong, and Copernicus wasn't wrong. Ptolemy was doing based on what he saw, and according to the way he saw it, the sun goes around the earth, which that's the physics, and all the rules that were developed based on that worked. So it was true. It's true that it, because that was our perception as well. And Copernicus was right also, because from another point of view, it depends on, he just says there's no real truth to any of this. And he kept arguing this, and I was listening, like, it's true. If you have a set of rules that work, and that's your perception. It's
Right.
From your perception, the sun is going around there, and if I could set up a set of rules, and they all work. Now, when you come to a point where it stops working for you, then you have to readjust your thinking. Because now you have to come up with another set of rules to answer other questions that
Correct.
but they didn't have those questions. It worked for them all along. As science advanced,
For a long
they
time.
had to develop a new perception of it, and these new rules would work.
Could this be applied to like other things? For example, discovery of America. So, many days America existed until it became realistic.
What?
Until they actually went out on a boat and found it. You know what I'm saying?
What was likely to
Maybe
do
it's
it.
like it was almost like a new creation in a way. Is
Look,
that safe to say?
Your waters are
Deep
here.
stuff. Deep
Oh,
stuff.
man,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's big.
Deep stuff.
It's a big,
This one did better than the other. That was, and Tweet's going to want to take the recipes. Man. This miracle waters. Miracle
I
water.
like it with either
love that
cucumber in there or a lemon in there. I like it pure. I like it.
Right.
No blended. I
Ah,
like it. What do you
straight.
call it? Straight.
Right. Single. Single.
Single.
All right. So look, we could speculate about science. Maybe all the different perspectives are equally correct, right? Just it wasn't matin to the day of a particular door, but maybe all the perspective. Maybe reality is the sum total. Reality is bigger than the mind. It's probably the sum total of all the. Could be either like none of them or like all of them together. At least by Torah, we could be sure like this, that if we're going to learn Torah with the Gidrei Talmud Torah, we'll stick to the rules of the Midah Shatar Nidras Bam and all the other proper ways of how Torah is to be learned. Every single perception is true. The Torah is actually bigger and koil all those different perceptions because the Torah Bishorsha is above space, so there's no question whether it's square or circle. The problem is when it comes down to the Olam of Maisa, and that's why, even though El Vel Divrei Kim Chaim, we still have to choose, the halacha has to be only one way. The Beis Nagol has to be machriya like one way, and you're not allowed to paskin the other way once the Beis Nagol of that door.
Time, but at a later time
They could. That's right. That's right. Because, and just like Torah is that way, so also reality that comes from Torah, it's bigger than your perception. And when you're paskening a certain way, of course, it's natural to touch up al pi pshat and al pi sod lefi that perception. But reality is bigger than that perception. Right? Right? But our chelik in reality is what we see. But that much that we see in this medrash we call it still called blindness. You don't even appreciate what you're doing. And when we produce Chidushei Torah, so everyone goes, hi, we're telling God what His Torah is saying. You don't even know what you did. That Chiddush that you said, is bigger than you realize. And that's what it means. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets such simcha from Pilpul Shel Torah. Like, how can he get simcha from what our limited minds do? You don't. The answer is when we're Amel and Torah, and we produce Chidushei Torah, the process is a lot bigger than us and a lot bigger than we realize. Right? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah with a cheshbon that we're going to produce those Chidushei Torah. Right? And those Chidushei Torah, do cosmic good even more than what we could realize. Right? So, so even if it's technically against what a Baskol says, right? But the Torah itself is bigger than the Baskol and your Deya, right? And the halacha is like your Deya, because lo b'shamayim, right? Just like the halacha is like the Rabbim over the Yochid or the Miut, right? Even though the Miut's not stupid, right? And the Torah is kolo all those days, right? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah that we, right, should bring out what we bring out. And what we bring out is even bigger than what we realize. Your chidushim are bigger than what you realize. You're lighting that candle is still called the blind man lighting the candle. That chidush you produced and you think you could see, that's the blind man lighting the candle. Right? And that's what it is. So the Kodesh Kodashim represents the Torah B'Shorsha. And the Torah Shebechsav is reminiscent of that. That there's really nothing we could do with the Torah Shebechsav because we can't change the text. All the Parshanut, all the Pirushim, that's Torah Sheba'al Peh. Right? The aspect of Torah that we see is the menorah. The menorah is in the Heichal.
Anything that he doesn't know.
What?
You give a sighted person light.
Right.
So you gave him something that he appreciates, but you can't give God anything that he doesn't know. He knows these Kiddushim before.
Yes.
So
So it's not, you're not Mechadish Yediyah, but he gets nachas because this is the cosmic work that he wants done. I mean, this because when we bring out these Chidushei Torah, there's certain tikkun made. Of course, he's aware of it, but he gave the Torah to us that when we have the Torah in our hands, we reveal it within this dark realm. We light a candle, meaning we dispel the darkness of Chomrius, the darkness of Olam Hazeh. That's why he put the Torah on earth, that we should work with it. It's called lighting a candle. You need a candle to get rid of darkness. Shraga v'tira mayahanya. Right? We do the tikkun of bringing light to darkness when the Torah is funneled through us. If the Torah would stay in Shamayim, it would stay in Shamayim. It wouldn't light up this physical world that the Torah came down to here to illuminate the physical world. We do that. And this illuminating of the physical world is much bigger than what we realize. It's called the blind man lighting the candle. So he works, you harved over this chiddush. You should know that what's behind that chiddush is much bigger than what you realize. We're in over our heads. So it's like the mashal with the blind man. A blind man has to be very careful when playing with fire. He doesn't see. And that's also when we handle with the Torah, to make sure to do it only strictly with the strict Gidrei Talmud Torah. With the Midrash Torah Jasbam, and to create within the guidelines. And that's what it means, Lahagid Shvachol Sharon Shloshina. Because the Torah Sheba'al Peh represents our creating Chidushei Torah, but Lahagid Shvachol Shloshina, so even though it's creating, giving light back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? But you must not do it outside of the rules. Because, you're a blind man handling fire. Right? So that's what the Gidrei Talmud Torah are. But through that we're zoche to make tikkunim that are way beyond what we understand, and therefore all the kashas are batal. The kasha of lo b'shamayim is batal. The kasha of el is batal. The Torah is much bigger than our perception, and the Torah is kailo all the different deis, even deis that by our perception are mutually exclusive. Right? And everyone is given his unique deya to reveal his unique chelik. And the Torah itself is a composite of all those different views, right? All those different views and more is what we wanted to say.